Well, I would love to introduce Petra Laux, who's the Global Head of Business Sustainability for Crop Protection at Syngenta, which is another one of our innovation partners today. So first off, thank you for being a part of Climate Plus. So I'd love to start with, this morning we actually had a discussion around food shortages and how climate is exacerbating food shortages. Food needs are growing, yet we know that agriculture can be a contributor to the climate crisis. So how do you think about how we can meet the demands for the food that we need and will need in the future, while also reaching the Paris Agreement and thinking about how agriculture can not just be a contributor to climate change, but maybe even a solution?
Thank you, Kate. Glad to be here. So we have heard about the extreme challenges, right, the ag sector is facing. So we are already consuming about 50% of the habitable land for agriculture. It's 70% of fresh water used. We are emitting 22% of greenhouse gas today, and the sector needs to grow because we need more food for the people. We heard that very loud and clear. And the good news is the ag sector, in our view, there is a way to grow and reducing emissions very clearly. If we don't act now, the soils will be degraded, the emissions will balloon, and we won't be able to feed the people. Now, to get there, we need to be thinking differently about how we consume food and how we produce food.
And so in a recent opinion article for Devex, you talked about how the narrative around some of the traditional polluting sectors like transport and energy has shifted from being seen as a potential solution to climate change, not just a contributor, and how the agriculture sector needs to move along with that as well. Can you talk about this a little bit more and any specific practices, breakthroughs, solutions you see that can not only move that narrative, but actually move the reality of agriculture being a solution and not just a contributor?
So if you look at the energy and transport sector, there has been a huge innovation wave, right? There was lots of effort into renewable energy, electric cars, bike lanes, solar panels, everything. We need the same innovation effort now in agriculture. We need, from a climate perspective, we need to achieve three things. We need to reduce emissions on farm. We need to sequester more carbon, and we need to increase productivity, which also is a climate solution. And to do this, in agriculture, we suggest three things. We say we need to boost soil health. That's absolutely fundamental. Soil is responsible for 95% of the food we produce. So we need to invest in more research and understand how the soil health boosting practices like no-till, like cover crops, like crop biodiversification, how these practices can be better applied in the various local settings, because it's not a simple recipe. So we need research to understand this, and we need to make it attractive to farmers. I liked a lot what Mr. Odada was saying this morning, right? It needs to work for the farmers. So we are not rewarding currently soil health services the farmer is bringing in terms of carbon markets. We can probably talk more about that, but that's the first, is boosting soil health. Second is digital. If you look at innovation, every sector in industry has benefited from the digital revolution. Why can't we do the same in agriculture? The farmer has so many decisions to take. It starts from choosing the right seed. It goes from what is the practice I'm applying and protecting my crop, when is the best time to harvest, what is the weather going to look like, how can I turn all of this into a tool set to farmers to really make it practical and accessible, these now are including artificial intelligence. And we talked about smallholders before. Digital also is a way to reach farm smallholders, because it's very hard to go to the last mile, and the digital revolution can help with that. And the last, this is also a lot what we are about, is innovation. Let's embrace biotechnology. Let's embrace biologicals. We see there's a lot of opportunity in better seeds that are resistant to droughts, that are resistant to pests, that produce more on less land. And there's a lot of opportunity in biologicals where we can harness the power of nature to treat pests and to increase nutrient efficiency.
So you talked about soil health and the importance of bringing farmers on board and making sure that there are policies and incentives in place. Also thinking about policies, Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act that just passed really funds significant funds toward climate smart agriculture. So can you think about some other examples of how policy is helping to really push progress in this area, or what more you'd like to see in this space?
So what policies do in these areas is alignment, set standards, and release incentives for investment, right? And this is what is the beauty of the Climate Reduction Act. So it's really, the Inflation Reduction Act, it's really helping to give us confidence that the investment is going to be supported at the end of the day. And when we think of climate smart agriculture, it's all the practices that either help the farmer adapt to climate change or to mitigate climate change. We heard some of the examples before. And there are many technologies that support these practices. On the seed side, there's seed available that is feed efficient. So you can raise more cattle or produce more dairy with less emissions. It's all the on-farm emissions. And on the adaptation side, there are biostimulants that help the plant physiology to be resistant in drought. We heard earlier today, if the climate is going to degree, maize is not going to flower anymore. At the same time, you need to look at the productivity of the crop. So if we have biostimulants supplied, the crop can produce, even under very difficult climatic conditions, the same or even more amount of corn to be harvested.
So here we're on the sidelines of COP28, and COP28 brings together many different stakeholders. You have governments, multinationals, private sector, civil society. So what role do you see for collaboration across all of these sectors, and what challenge and opportunities do you see when it comes to climate smart agriculture?
Yeah. I think at the end it's a huge synchronization effort that is required. So when I joined this sector 4 years ago, I was surprised to see how different the perspectives were between civil society, what farmers actually need, what the world needs, what science tells us. So we need to look at this end-to-end pathway, and our first speaker also was very clear. The agro-food system starts before farm production, with the farming, the processing, the consuming. And we need to be mindful of each other, how what we try to achieve in one path is going to be handed down to the next sector. So the alignment on standards, the alignment on outcomes is very, very important. And this is also a key message here at COP. Let us help. So the alignment and standard setting and synchronization to try to work towards the same outcome.
And do you think that message is breaking through?
I'm very pleased, like other speakers, we are understanding the need of innovation. We are understanding the need of productivity, which is often underestimated. We heard it loud and clearly, and also the value productivity brings to climate change. And also, we didn't talk about biodiversity yet, but using the cultivated land as productively as possible with the least impact. That is what the ag-food sector tries to achieve.
And what do you see as the critical opportunity, and for those in the room and are probably coming from different perspectives, different backgrounds, that we can't afford to miss if we really want to simultaneously make sure we can feed the world while also reducing emissions through agriculture innovation?
I would say we need a strategic approach and focus on the outcome we want to achieve. So forget about terms like organic agriculture, agroecology, climate smart agriculture, region agriculture. Look at the outcome we need to achieve together. And this alignment on the outcomes will actually help everybody to contribute, to think about what can I do, how can I make a difference. Also, we heard it loud and clear in different settings, right? And then we can take this innovative power and have this synchronization amongst the system. This is what we actually need to achieve here today.
And what do you want to see come out of, we have Food Day coming up in a couple of days. What do you hope to see would make you say that this COP28 has been a success?
I think optimism and investment. So let's try and move the things together. Very often I see people are stunned because the challenge is too big. We cannot afford to give up.
Right. Great. Well, thank you so much, Petra, for taking your time today, and to Syngenta for being an innovation partner. And they are also our partner for our well-deserved networking break, which we're about to start here in just a moment, before we come back with our health programming. Just also a little plug, you probably saw that there were some stickers when you came in case you want to identify what track or tracks you most identify with that we're exploring here at Climate Plus. So be sure to use those if you want, and enjoy this break, and we'll see you back at 1/4 past the hour. Thank you. Thank you.